Blog Talk Radio.
Hello, everyone. Good morning. This is Laurie Smith on Blog Talk Radio. It is 6 o'clock here in the morning, Calgary, Alberta, and I'm happy to be here. This is one child abuse survivor to another, and my voice is kind of not very good this morning. Sorry about that. It's very, very bad, but that's okay. We'll get through it. I'm just drinking some coffee, trying to wake up here, and just glad to be here to do the show. It's a half an hour live internet streaming radio broadcast from blogtalkradio.com. And my chat room is open if anyone would like to come and sit in there, or if anyone's up yet. And, just happy to be able to continue doing these shows. You know, I had no idea how many shows I'd be doing, and when I first started doing Blog Talk Radio back in November, I was just thinking I might do one show a week, you know, and it's really turned into a whole lot of shows, and just found so much great information out there to keep passing on to people that I keep finding more information. That's the thing. So it's so great, and I hope people are getting something out of it. I know I sure do, because it helps me. I keep researching all the time, continually looking for information regarding survivor issues, because I'm a survivor myself, and also because I think it's so important to keep passing these resources on to other people, you know, and talking about it, right? It's so important. So I'm glad that you can be here, and I'm not a professional. I don't hold any professional counseling certificates, therapist certificates. I'm just a person, a private citizen who pays to do my blog talk shows, because I really think that the issues of silence surrounding abuse is really wrong, and survivors, you know, we often, you know, I didn't start speaking out until about 8 months ago publicly. I went public with my story. And until, you know, before that, I had told a few people, and, you know, some people, you know, reacted quite well. Others actually sort of walked away from the relationship because they thought, oh, no, they just couldn't deal with that. They would, of course, tell me their stories. And then as soon as I told them mine, it was just too much. And so this can happen, you know, quite often. You know, a lot of times survivors won't tell people because they just don't get the support that they need. So the situations surrounding abuse, you know, silence is a big problem, because the abusers, you know, they of course want people to be silent about it so they can continue to do what they do. And then of course society doesn't want to hear about it. They just don't mind if it's silenced, because it's such an uncomfortable and sensitive topic that a lot of survivors just can't. I mean, not survivors, but just public people, you know, people in the world just don't like to hear about it, because it is so disturbing, right? But I think that, you know, as long as we keep silencing abuse, it's just going to be allowed to continue on. What people don't know about, they can't correct. What society doesn't know about, then there won't be anything done to solve these problems and these issues. And so that's why I thought, you know, why not? I'll just be one more voice out there to add to all the other voices that are already out there who have been making some noise and making their voices heard for years already. And I thought, yeah, I'll just be one more voice and stand up and start talking about child abuse and whatnot. And as a survivor, I thought I'd do this show just regarding mostly survivor issues, because it's so important for people to know that they aren't alone. They're not alone in this situation, which is really sad. There's so many of us. And also just to know that there is help available. And we just have to keep reaching for that help and keep searching and looking for that help, right? So yeah, it's great. I'm glad to be here. If you're sensitive to the topics of abuse or any abuse-related information, I would ask that you listen at your own discretion, because the topics of abuse are very sensitive, and you have to know what is good for you to listen to. It's ultimately your discretion when you listen to something. And I always give the topic information. Today we are talking about survivor issues. We're talking about survivor issues related to child sexual abuse. And I found an article. It's called Combining Voices, Supporting Paths of Healing in Adult Female and Male Survivors of Sexual Abuse. I found this on the Public Health Agency of Canada's website at www.phacc.gc.ca/NFN-TSX-VOX-ENG.PHP /care. So that's quite a lengthy link there, but you can always just go to the Public Health Agency of Canada's website and pull up the topics regarding adult survivors, and the article is called Combining Voices, Supporting Paths of Healing in Adult Female and Male Survivors of sexual abuse. So that's what we're talking about. We started talking about it yesterday, looking at this article. And so if you're sensitive to the topics of abuse, please listen at your own discretion. And if it's going to bother you, just turn the show off. You won't be hurting my feelings at all. And, if you're a young person under the age of 18, I would ask that you would have someone listen to this show with you. It's just so important that you keep yourself safe online. Just looking around, I study child rights, and I'm fighting for child rights. And I believe that children are not protected enough online, and all children should be letting an adult know what they are doing online, who they're chatting with online, what they're looking at online, what they're listening to online. There are some really sick people out there. And the FBI's website is great. I love that website. I spend a lot of time on it. They have a great article regarding online safety for parents and for children. And you can check that out. And it does tell you just how many child sexual predators are online at any given time. The number is in the millions. So you want to keep yourself safe. You want to keep yourself and your family protected. And so you need to let an adult know that you're listening to this show. Have them listen to it with you if you like. And then they can tell you whether or not you should be listening, because there's a lot of adult material on here. And I don't know where the Blog Talk players have been placed around now, because you can grab the links and place them around. So you want to make sure that it's okay for you to listen to the show, and that that it's all right, and that you have permission to listen to the show. And then if you have questions or something comes up that you're just not so sure, haven't heard too much about it, they can help you find that information, right? It's just so important. So we'll continue on here. I want to look at this article, because this article actually had some really interesting sort of different topic information. I studied all kinds of issues regarding child abuse and survivor issues, and I found this article quite interesting just because they really sort of spoke quite a bit about different things regarding adult survivors of child sexual abuse. Really, it could be pertaining to all abuse, right? And they said here, why sexual abuse is underreported. And I'm just going to read right from the page here, and that is Chapter 2, Prevalence of Child Sexual Abuse. And I'm just going to read, excuse me, my voice is terrible this morning. I'm just going to read that one portion of it, why sexual abuse is underreported. It says, though we are beginning to get a better understanding of the magnitude of the sexual abuse problem, we still haven't reached a peak in terms of reporting. Most victims and survivors still remain in the shadows with their stories of violation and exploitation. And with services and other resources shrinking in most communities, the prospect of obtaining support is likely to become even more difficult. Underreporting in childhood is often looks like abuse here, is often a factor of the victim's age. Very young children often have difficulty communicating to adults what happened to them, though they may be able to demonstrate their sexual abuse in a court of law using anatomical it's too early in the morning here. Anatomical correct dolls, drawings, or other types of nonverbal methods. Fortunately, recent changes in Canadian law have made it easier for children to provide testimony. However, this has not eliminated the fact that some adults still do not believe young children, even when they are able to provide quite graphic and detailed descriptions of their sexual abuse. Demonstrate sophisticated and age-inappropriate knowledge about sex, or have physical injuries typically associated with actual or attempted penetration. So they're just saying here that, a lot of adults don't believe a young child when they come and tell them or show them what happened to them. And that's just true. A lot of adults, or whoever the children disclose to that they are being abused, actually don't want to believe it, and they don't believe it, and that's just unfortunate. If a child comes to you and says they are being abused, you have to look into it. It's really it's the law. You have to report abuse that you know about. And as a parent, to deny, that if your child came to you and said, look, I'm being abused by a family member, and as a parent, to deny that, you're denying that child the opportunity to get help, first of all, and to stop the abuse. And by living in denial, it's you're actually enabling the abuse. And I would hope that charges would be brought against the enabler as well as the abuser. I'd like to see more of that, actually, because there's so many people that enable abuse. They stand by and let abuse happen. They let it continue. They don't do anything to stop it. And we see this quite often in the paper. I'm the Canada Regional Director for Dreamcatchers for Abused Children, and we study this stuff all the time. We're looking at the articles, we're checking it out, just seeing what is actually going on out there, and as far as the laws go and what's happening, because we want to see some real change in regards to protection for children. And it's great to see, people are reporting the abuse, and abuse is being, caught. The abusers are getting caught. But quite often, you see a partner who's been in the relationship who obviously there would be a lot of problems within that home if the child has been so badly abused, and that it's gone to court and it's caught the attention of the public, whether the child was killed or is in the hospital due to the abuse they suffered. For a parent to stand by and enable that abuse, I really believe they need to be brought up on the very same charges, because people just can't keep using the excuse, well, I was afraid, I was being abused as well, because as the parent, as the non-offending parent, you should have it in your heart to want that child to be safe, and that you would report it right away. I know that it's not easy because a lot of people are battered, and they're battered as well as the child, right? So that's the abuser is actually abusing everyone in the family, and I can see that. But I think it's just become an excuse, and we see a lot of that in the paper. Well, I couldn't do anything, I couldn't say anything, I was afraid. And what about the child? How afraid must have been that child? So I really think we owe it to children to not enable abuse and to report it. And I wish that they would come up with some really strong supporting laws and sentencing for people who do enable and stand by and do nothing about abuse when they actually know about it. And I hope that changes, I really do, because people need to stop this. And if you have it within your ability to stop child abuse and to stop a child from being abused, you have to do it. It's the law, and really it should be more than just the law. It should be in your heart that you'd want to help that child in any possible way that you could. And so that's the whole issue, because too much abuse is still going on. We don't even know how much really, because most of it's not reported. And so that's why they're talking about this, why sexual abuse is underreported. People don't want to believe it when they hear it. Parents don't want to accept it. They think, oh, no, there's just no way this could happen to, that a family member could be abusing my child. There's just, so they go into this denial thing, and they don't want to hear it. It says, because of their dependence on adults for survival and other very basic needs, children can be forced to remain silent by manipulative parents, relatives, or other adult caregivers. For some children, the sexual abuse is disguised in the form of horseplay. For others, it happens slowly over time and in such a way that they may be unable to clearly sort out their perceptions of what is happening to them. This is especially true when the abuser is a much loved and trusted adult. And, 90% pretty much... that's what most of the statistics say. 90% of children are abused by someone that they know and trust. And they did say about, 80% is usually a family member. So, the other 10 or 20% is child sexual predators and whatnot, or someone that the child doesn't know very well. But that just tells you it's mostly family members. It's people who have access to your child. You know what I mean? So, it's just horrible. Absolutely horrible. Children also have, parents need to know where their children are at all times, who they're with, and you just can't trust everybody. Child abusers don't look like certain, you can't stereotype and lump abusers into a certain category of what they look like, what they behave like. Abusers come in all shapes, sorts, and sizes, and genders, and, socioeconomic backgrounds, and, there's no way you can't point out an abuser. Abusers are very manipulative, and so quite often they will befriend a family, right, who has children, and they'll become their very best friends, and then they will abuse the children. This is quite often the case, and so you can't just trust everybody. You really need to know who your children are with, what they're doing, and make sure that your child is not being abused, right? It says here that children also become very confused if they experience pleasant physical or bodily sensations from being touched inappropriately, lacking information about good and bad touch, and what to do if someone else or someone does something to them that makes them uncomfortable also leaves many children unable to disclose their abuse. And I know there's lots of work being done on that now for as far as good touch, bad touch in schools. There's a great website. It's called littlewarriors.ca out of Edmonton, Alberta. They do some great work, and I like their website. It's a great website, and I'm so happy to see what they're doing. I actually love those guys because they are really promoting in Alberta schools, and I wish it would go nationwide. Good touch, bad touch, and for parents how to know at what age it's appropriate to start talking about good touch and bad touch with your children, so that they will be a bit better prepared, just in case someone does try to sexually abuse them. They will be more able to handle the situation, and they'll know that it's okay to tell someone And it doesn't matter what that other person said, that abuser said to them, that they need to tell. And so this is the whole issue, right? It's so important. But it has to be age appropriate. And so, nobody wants to scare their children or cause them to live in fear, because that's just not a good way to live. And that won't keep you safe anyway. But education really is the key. I really believe that people just need to become educated, right? And that's why this information's out here. Anybody can get a hold of it, right? And that's what's great, because we can all learn how to keep our children safe, right? I don't have children, but if I did, I'd be studying up on this stuff and making sure that I was keeping my children as protected as possible. My parents were so quite ignorant, born in the 1920s, born in the Depression era, both born in abusive homes. They grew up in their own abusive mess lives, got married, had a bunch of kids, and continued on their abuse, and then it just got worse because they could not get along themselves and had so many issues. And so they weren't really parenting, you know what I mean? They just popped us out and then expected us to make our way, right, while they were abusing each other and us. So there was no teaching on, how to keep yourself safe, and they weren't keeping us safe, right? Because, they were the abusers. So this is the whole issue, right? A lot of times people don't have, children don't have parents that can help them, right? And so that's why it's just so important that you look out for the children in your lives and make sure that they are not being abused, right? And because, not everybody has this information or is willing to share it. Some people are very ignorant, and some parents are very ignorant, and they just don't want to know. They'd rather just live in denial. So, their child sits as a unprotected sitting duck, basically, out there in a world full of child sexual predators just waiting to get a hold of them. So it's really sad that they don't care enough to protect their children, right? And it's either that or that they don't know enough out of ignorance, right? And that's what we're hoping to change as far as Dream Catchers for Abused Children goes, is just to get that information out there. And any of these groups out here, like Little Warriors, .ca out of Edmonton, Alberta, any of these groups are doing, I could just sit here on one show and just start naming them off. You can find them by just looking on the web, start looking around. There's some great people doing some awesome work out here. And, just get some information and get educated. That's what I say. So that's just some information about why abuse is just underreported, I just thought we'd take a look at that. There's all kinds of issues regarding it. And let's see, we want to go down. I'm going to scroll down here through the article, and it's quite a lengthy article. Chapter 4 is kind of what we were looking at yesterday, which is the survivor issues. Chapter 4, and that's the care and support of adult survivors. And we had been looking at that and sort of going through that article. It says, we'll continue on here. It says, dealing with past attempts at healing. Clients who have been in counseling in the past can be encouraged to reflect on their experiences without blame in order to learn how their present healing work may proceed better. There are many things in the therapeutic process that can lead to a breakdown. Sometimes it is because clients are not getting their needs met. Sometimes it is because the counselor is poorly or undertrained. And these issues should be discussed honestly and openly to improve clients' chances of achieving their present healing or therapeutic goals. And so if someone that, already attempted to go to a counselor, which I haven't, someday I'm going to, they can, if it didn't work out, right, or let's say it just didn't go the way they thought that it should, that's not a good thing. I think the reason why people reach out and go to counselors is to get some help. And so, you just want to keep going. I've heard where, they just say keep looking for a counselor that will work with you and who has the knowledge base, right, for whatever you're dealing with to help us, right? So we have to know which kind of counselor to search for and, search for one who specializes in whatever we've been through. And I think that's so important, right? And then if we just find one that doesn't click and there's just no relationship there, they just don't seem to be working with us and we can't understand them, right? It's a good idea to just to check out and get another counselor if we can, because we'll find one eventually that will work with us, right? And who can actually understand what we're going through. And then we can, move slowly at our own pace and heal from this stuff, right? So important. It says helping survivors get ready. It is important to acknowledge that not every survivor can undertake or continue a healing journey, and therapists should spend time assessing a survivor's readiness to start or continue their work. Women and men who have an addiction problem will need additional services or resources. Survivors with no families, friends, or partners to support them as they enter their healing process may also require additional supports. Survivors quite often don't have any family. The whole issue is that the family, they either were removed from the home and put into foster care, or they were living with a grandparent, and so they were alienated from the parents and the rest of the family, or they were the family was so dysfunctional, that's my case, that there's no one to talk to within that family regarding the abuse, and that's my case, right? And most of my family's gone now, but there's a few of us left, and they are living in a world of their own denial, right? Survivors who are burdened with maladaptive behaviors that are chronic and debilitating may need a wide range of supports and services to facilitate their process of healing. And getting counseling. The biggest obstacle in getting victims to counseling is the problem of assessing abuse in their histories. Many sexually abused persons remain silent about their experience and consequently are misdiagnosed or mislabeled by unsuspecting clinicians as being psychotic, hysterical, borderline, or antisocial. Sexual abuse as a cause of severe psychological and interpersonal problems is frequently missed by clinicians. And that's because if people don't tell the counselors out of fear, this whole fear-based thing, wanting to keep the abuse that we suffered inside and not share it with other people because we're afraid of what they'll think of us. Well, if we're going to a counselor for help, we need to make sure that we're okay to tell them, because otherwise we'll be misdiagnosed, and that's not a good thing, right? So I think we have to be honest with ourselves. We have to be honest. If we're going to really search and seek out some counseling and healing, we do have to be able to come to terms with the fact that the person that we should tell is the counselor, so that we can be properly assessed and get some help, right? How are they going to help treat someone and help someone with their, if they were abused sexually as a child, if you never tell the counselor that you were? They might suspect it just by the behaviors that we have, but they can't really know about it if we don't tell them. So I know when I go to counseling, I'm going to, I've already gone public with my story anyway, so it doesn't matter. It's out there for everybody to see. But the thing is, I'll just hand the counselor a copy of my book and tell them, there you go. I didn't go into too many details regarding the sexual abuse. That's why I want to go to counseling, because I blocked a lot of it, don't remember some of it. I don't remember parts of it, but I do remember certain aspects of it. I was 8 years old, and I repressed a lot of those memories. And so, I'd like to go get counseling on that, and someday I will. But it won't do me any good if I walk in to find a counselor and I don't tell them that I was sexually molested by a family member. They won't know, if they didn't read my book, they wouldn't maybe be able to figure it out. They might diagnose me as having some other problem, right? So I guess we do have to be honest about the whole thing, right? I've never gone to counseling, so eventually I hope to go, right? So this is a good article for me too, right? Just to get that information. It says here, the focus of healing counseling. The focus of healing for an adult survivor will vary according to individual need, the expressed wishes of the survivor, or the availability of supports and resources. Most issues will be the same or similar for females and males, but some differences likely exist. The focus of healing work will also depend on whether the abuse was interfamilial or extrafamilial, so like within the family or outside of the family. A survivor may wish to deal with the emotional consequences of the abuse experience, and this could involve working on fears and phobias, depression, guilt, mistrust, or feelings of isolation. A survivor may also choose to deal with problems of body image, sexuality, substance abuse, or relationship and trust issues. And some may choose to acquire parenting skills, seek relaxation training, learn assertiveness and communication skills. So, this is great stuff. I wish that we could all get help and get all that stuff taken care of, and if we haven't already, you know what I mean? Because it'd be nice to feel good, you know what I mean? As survivors of child abuse, quite often we don't feel that great, you know what I mean? Just because of what we've been through, and what so many people have been through. It's just horrible, right? It would be so nice to be able to work on that stuff and have a good body image and be comfortable with our sexuality and not use substances and, learn how to trust and to acquire good parenting skills, and to learn how to relax. That'd be nice. That's what I need to do. To learn assertiveness, and communication skills and all that stuff would be just awesome, right? And I know that there's people out there who have gone through counseling and have survived child abuse, and they're kind of like my mentors, because I just keep moving forward, right? And I say, well, they can do it. That's great. I'm going to keep on going too. So that's the whole issue, right? We have to just keep moving forward, and eventually, at our own pace, right? And eventually, we are bound to get there, It's just, but we have to keep working at it. It's not something we can just figure that will fall in our lap. Oh, healing will just come to me. No, I don't think that's very true. I think that we have to work for it. It's just like anything else, It's going to require some work on our part and very proactive work, in order to actually get past this stuff. And everybody, of course, has been through different things, right? And we are not all in the same place as far as healing goes. And so that's why it's not we don't want to feel bad just because one person's healed so quickly over something, and maybe we can't because, for whatever reason they were able to do it. Maybe they didn't go through the same types of things. You know what I mean? So there's the whole issue that we've all suffered different types of abuse at different severities, different lengths of time. The whole thing would be different for each one of us. And so, of course, the healing will all be different as well. And that's why, I wouldn't base my healing on what others have gone through. It's just good to see that people have done it. And then I would just base my healing on my own self and say I could do it, you know what I mean? And just keep walking it out every day, keep walking forward very slowly at our own pace, and eventually, we can do it. And this is a great article here. They do talk about working with Aboriginal Native survivors, right? And I just think, in Canada, the Native communities, they're just beginning to reclaim their heritage. This is just reading from the page here. They are awakening to the healing power of some traditional ways and reconnecting with values, cultural practices, and a sense of community that was lost when their families and communities were split apart by attempts to assimilate Native children through forced education in boarding schools. So this is a great article, and we actually, I should do a whole show on this. So important, the issues regarding the Aboriginal and Native peoples, around the world, really, and especially North America. That because I do know quite a bit about them, not everything, but some information because I live over here, right? And I see what happens to them, and I see what's happened to them as a group, as a culture, as a people. And so, it's so important, right? That I'm glad that they included that part, and it's part of the article. So we just have a few minutes left. But this article is great. They do have lots of information here. You can check it out. And choosing a counselor, therapist, caregiver. It says, do not rush headlong into therapy with the first therapist you meet. This is, just some guidelines for people, right? Be patient. It generally takes time to find the right fit between your needs and the skills, experience, training, and personality of your therapist. It says if you have no idea where to begin, call a local hospital, consult your local phone book, and look under directories of counselors or therapists, or ask your doctor for a referral. And in a few communities, female and male survivors can both consult local women's shelters or sexual assault crisis centers for appointments or referrals. And it says many communities have blue books or directories of local professionals, community agencies, and support services, and other resources that provide assistance to adult survivors. And you can contact any of these in person or by phone. And ask potential therapists to provide you with a list of suggested reading materials that discuss and explain their theoretical orientation or model of practice. Now that's a good idea, to see just where that therapist is coming from and what they really focus on in their therapy, right? It says don't be afraid to ask potential therapists where they have received their training and what credentials they possess, like, for instance, earned degrees, specialized training, internships, professional development courses. I really think we should know that these people are professional and registered. Many professionals are registered within a professional college or association. We have about a minute left. Ask the therapist if he or she would mind if you check their credentials, and I think there's nothing wrong with that. I certainly would, because there's too many crazy people out there that would like to maybe pose as a therapist, and that's why I always tell people that I am not a professional, because it's so important, right? People need to be aware that there's a lot of crazy people out there who are out to do nothing but hurt people. So we have to look out for ourselves and others as well. So we have about a minute left. I'm so thankful for y'all tuning in. Thanks for being here with me as always. I just hope that everybody just keeps reaching out, keeps getting that help that they need, and, just continue to walk forward in our healing. Know that there's all kinds of great groups out there. If anybody needs any references or resources that I might have, just get a hold of me on Blog Talk Radio or, Facebook or wherever. And, if I can help you find information, I will. Or if you just need a shoulder or a friend to chat with, let me know. And it's just so important that we know we have support, and we have people we can reach out to, right? As soon as I started reaching out, I really couldn't believe how many hands came back to reach out back to me. So that's why I say, just reach out and make the first move and reach out and get some help, right? And don't suffer in silence. Don't suffer alone. That's a bad way to live, suffering in silence. And there's good people out there, and there's good help out there. So we just have to keep reaching out and looking for that help where we can find it. So I hope you have a great day. I'll be back on tonight with Donna Shearer, Dreamcatchers Talk Radio, with Dreamcatchers for Abused Children. 10 o'clock p.m. Eastern Standard Time for an hour, and then I'll see you again tomorrow back here, same time, 6 o'clock a.m., One Child Abuse Survivor to Another. Have a great day, everybody. There's lots of friends, really a lot of great advocates and friends of mine. I consider you all family in the chat room. Have a really wonderful day, everybody, and take care of yourselves, and remember, just keep holding on to that hope, keep that hope alive, right? Okay, talk to you soon. Bye-bye.